Hello, my name is Duel, and welcome to my preliminary Hungering Destroyer guide. This guide is intended to be as accurate as possible prior to the release of the Castle Nathria raid. However, as the raid is not yet live, some of the information in this guide may be slightly inaccurate. Hungering Destroyer is the third of 10 bosses of the Castle Nathria raid. It is one of the simplest encounters in this raid, especially on normal. Hungering Destroyer has 7 abilities that it can use throughout the fight. Looking at the boss room, the boss should be tanked here in the center, with tanks positioned here, melee spread here, and ranged spread here. This boss is all about striking a balance between stacking and spreading, as there are abilities that require you to do both. The first ability is Gluttinous Miasma, which targets a player with a 5 yards AoE debuff, doing damage over time and making them unhealable. They will also leech health from any player stood within 5 yards of them. As the debuffed player cannot be healed, other players must stand within 5 yards to transfer health, healing the unaffected players in the circle instead. For normal, 1 or 2 players per circle should be enough, and any more players stood within will just need extra healing. The reason players shouldn't be stacked at all times is Volatile Ejection. Volatile Ejection works very similarly to Sin Seeker from Altamore. Several players are targeted, and after a short while a beam fires through them, doing moderate damage and applying a debuff that makes future hits of Volatile Ejection a one-shot. Any players that aren't soaking Gluttinous Miasma should be evenly spread around the boss, with melee on one side and ranged on the other. Melee should once again have one half of their area for the beams and one half for without to ensure players don't get clipped. Ranged will be loosely spread, so it is unlikely that they will hit any other players. And if a player gets both abilities, players soaking should move away as the beam goes off, then return to the soak. Desolate is a healer mechanic that deals unavoidable raid-wide damage periodically. Players should use defensives to help the healers out as they try to top everyone up. It is important that players are kept topped up because of the next mechanic, Expunge. Expunge applies a debuff to all players in the raid that does AoE damage to anyone stood within a circle. The size of this circle is larger, the lower the player's health is at the time it is cast, so keep players topped before this goes out to minimize the need to spread. Players will need to spread out until Expunge drops off to ensure they don't hit other players. Consume is an ability that drops all players in towards the boss. The boss will leech health from players, leeching more health from players that are closer to the boss. All players should run away from the boss as he channels this ability, and ranged will start further away, but melee may want to run away before he starts channeling to reduce the amount of health stolen. This is especially important if Expunge comes soon after. Finally, the last 2 abilities we will cover are tank abilities, Overwhelm and Hungering Strikes. Overwhelm does large instant damage to the tank. Tanks should use a defensive for every one of these. Overwhelm is tricky to manage because the boss will also be applying Hungering Strikes. Every auto attack, he leeches health from the target and increases the leech of future attacks by 8%, resetting on a taunt swap. The way these 2 mechanics should be managed is the first tank takes all of the Hungering Strikes, losing health gradually. As Overwhelm is cast, the other tank should taunt swap mid-cast. This will reset the stacks of Hungering Strikes and ensure Overwhelm doesn't strike an already low tank. Tanks that receive Overwhelm will need to use a cooldown and receive large heals afterwards. And that's the fight. If you found this guide to be helpful, there are more like it on the way. I plan to release a new guide every day, and probably 2 a day in the lead up to the raid, so look out for those. If you found it helpful, please like and comment, and it would help me a lot if you were to share it with your guildies. If you're interested in raiding with us and are on OCE, our guild, aiming to be average, is always recruiting. If you're interested, please message Emphatic on Bartholus. So yeah, my name's Duel, that's it from me. I hope this guide has been helpful, and best of luck to you in the Castle Nathria.